Well, after 2 summers of crazy overspending, I now have the largest transfer budget in the history of this football club. We now need to build a squad ready to take on Europe. Hello and welcome to part 131 of It's Coming Home. I'm Kevin. Coming up on today's episode, we have our usual season end, season review and transfer special. And we're getting things up and running straight away with it's becoming a comedy every summer. We get to see what a joke the all-time best 11 has become. And it's not as bad as it has been at times. Prince Chiddy's only on the bench now. But Karl Marsh and Adrio are apparently the 2 best strikers in the history of the football club. Adrio, I could imagine him maybe getting there one day. 16 goals from 33 appearances over the course of the season, both as a loanee and a permanent signing. I get it. Karl Marsh, I don't understand. Karl Marsh, better than Sir Anthony Harris, better than Matondo, better than Sir Mick Powell. Harris, Matondo and Powell are not even on the bench for the all-time best 11. The 3 best strikers in the history of the club, Marsh, Adrio, Prince Chiddy. I think best 11 is broken. Making up the rest of the best 11, we have Civita, Wearmouth, Rogers, Proctor and Gregson, Harrison, Perry and Sawinski in midfield, Moss behind Adrio and Marsh, with a bench of Watson, Colley, Wolf, Stanley, Kano, Webber and Chiddy. Oh, Kano's there as a striker as well. So let's just check in with some of these guys to see what they're up to now. So Civita, now aged 32, playing for Dagenham and Redbridge in the National League, probably back at his level. Mark Wearmouth, who of course got injured in the Mick Powell testimonial last summer, did eventually manage to play 11 games for AEK Athens after recovering from his injury. What's Rogers doing now? Rogers is, of course, he went to the MLS. He's still playing for Houston in the MLS. Proctor, still at McDonald's. So we hang out with Archie Proctor quite regularly because obviously we're ground sharing with them. So I imagine he regularly just pretends he's still part of the home squad. He's actually been at McDonald's almost as long as he was with us now. Poor lad. Gregson, still with us, but on loan at Charlton. He'll be moving on permanently this summer to go and sign for Charlton properly. Obviously, Harrison, we know about. Paul Perry is now playing for Dundalk, if I said it right this time, but not very often. Considering they spent £1.3 million on him, I'd have expected him to play a few more games than that. David Sawinski, who we could now afford if we wanted him, but I think the ship has probably sailed on David Sawinski. He would come in as the 10th best midfielder in the squad. So I don't think we're ever going to see David Sawinski play for home again. But he's carving out a nice career for himself playing for Rotherham in the Championship. Nick Moss is playing for Hamilton, now aged 27. He's had a full season in the Scottish Premiership, so he's doing okay. Karl Marsh, we've already seen. Still only 27, playing for Melbourne City in Australia, and apparently better than Anthony Harris. And who else are we going to check in on? I think a lot of these are retired now. Watson, the third, still in the MLS, playing for Orlando. Joseph Colley, retired. Matty Wolf, retired. Connor Stanley, finally retired, age 29. Kano, we know about. Webber is manager of Chelmsford. Is he the first one of our flock who's gone on to become a manager? I think he might be. Good work, Patrick Webber. And Prince Chiddy is back in Nigeria. And he's better than Mick Powell, apparently. He was here on loan for 1 season in League 2 and still gets on the bench for the all-time best 11, which is broken. So that's the where are they now thing. We've already done that ourselves. Player of the season, Cedric Riviere. He's had a little bit of stick in the comments from a few people, but he's had a cracking second season with us. Just an all-round very good right-back. Player of the season for Riviere. Adrio runner-up. Sam's third place. Marvin Samuel with goal of the season. Let's have a look at his goal of the season entry. So this looks like it's second half of the season. It's definitely second half of the season because Pagano's there. Sands has assumed his role at centre-back, which I think turned the season around, playing Sands at centre-back. Bishop across to Samuel. I assume he's about to hit it. and hit it he does. I think we scored better goals than that this season, but that's always the way. Signing of the season, Adrio, and you really can't argue with that. Costas gets a lot of credit for this, bringing him in on loan for next to nothing, arranging a tiny future fee. Imagine signing a player who's got 10 goals from 18 games in the Premier League for less than £1 million. That's what we managed to do, because Costas played an absolute blinder, and he also gets a Young Player of the Year as well. Team of the season, Horvat in goal, a back four of Sands, Van der Horst, Noble and Riviere. Not happy with Sands at left back. Harrison, Samuel and Bishop in midfield, Manu behind Kano and Adrio. And if we look at the stats, Adrio top scorer with 23, Riviere highest average rating on 7.14, most assists, Cesar Sands, presumably from back in the days when he was playing at left back. I can't imagine he got many assists after he moved to centre back, but 9 assists from left back. He's the best player at the club according to star ratings. I think he's the best player at the club according to this as well. Yeah, key player, Cesar Sands. He's just very, very good. Harrison, best pass completion. Kano, most man of the match. And the Naughty Boys club is Manu, Riviere and Harrison. And we didn't get a single red card all season. So they're sort of semi-naughty boys. Season review, massively overperformed. We were supposed to get relegated. We finished 10th. The highest league finish in the history of the football club. Made it through to the FA Cup semi-final. But nobody remembers what happened there. I imagine it just got called off and we sort of bowed out voluntarily. We did win the League Cup, which is why we're going to be in Europe next year. And an average attendance of 17,000 is pathetic. Just pathetic. So, the 2026 side, where are they now? So this is a golden generation from 7 years ago that included Sir Anthony Harris, Semic Powell, David Sawinski, Shane Phillips, Lerick Fernandez. Let's check in on Shane Phillips, now aged 31. Still playing for Sunderland, although not very regularly down in League One. Lerick Fernandez is still officially contracted to us, but on loan at Hull. His contract does expire this summer, and we are going to let Lerick Fernandez leave. It is the end of an era with Lerick Fernandez leaving the club, because we talked a lot about how we've had players who have gone all the way through all the leagues and how Mick Powell's the only one who never left. Well, Lerick Fernandez left for 10 days. If we have a look at his career history. So he came through our youth system 2016, made his debut for us in about 2019, 2020 I think, so a long time ago now. He did go to Barnsley because Serenak knew who forced it through. He left to go to Barnsley on the 13th of January 2024. He was back with us on loan the 23rd of January 2024. So he was away for 10 days and then never left again until we sent him out on loan to Hull. So I think we can all quite happily say Lerick Fernandez also never left. And for him to make his debut in the Northern Premier League Division 1 East, even got to play in the West as well on loan at Royalston, but to make his debut there, still be a regular starting player when we got promoted from the Championship. He played the first game in the Premier League on merit. There's a strong argument for Lerick Fernandez as player of the series. I know no one would ever vote for him because he's not Sir Mick Powell. But thank you, Lerick. And it's a shame that at 29 you're not going to get a testimonial, because goodness me, does that man deserve one. But he also deserves, age 29, to go out and play some football, which he's not going to do for us. He won't even get in our Premier League squad for next season. So we're going to send him off with our blessings and hope he goes on to have an awesome rest of his career and comes back to us as part of the coaching system eventually. Talking of coaching, if anyone's got any tips for how to force Sir Mick Powell to become a coach, I think we might be in a Tom Elliott situation again, where these players who we want to become coaches, leadership course is something different before everyone suggests that. Neither Harris nor Powell seem interested in becoming coaches at the moment, which is a bit of a problem. So that's the rest of that golden generation, the rest of that team from 7 years ago. Matondo, Harris, Powell are still with us. Wearmouth, we know where he is. Sawinski and Phillips and Fernandez, we've checked in on all them. Ross Wright, who we got a little bit of criticism for selling, still at Reading. Decent Championship centre-back, obviously wouldn't get in our team anymore. Toby Humphreys is at Charlton with Oliver Gregson, which is nice that they've been able to reunite there. Archie Proctor we've already checked in on, and now retired we have McCormick, Lloyd, Vujacic, Swan, Bakinson. Remember Tyreek Bakinson? He was a weird sign-in for a little while. Just plucked from obscurity with Billericay and ended up being a decent player. And Paliak and Morton also retired as well. Dynamics-wise, Harris, Matondo and Powell are our team leaders. None of them are regular starters. It's a problem. We need the likes of Samuel and Manu, Riviere. We need them to push up and become our team leaders, because I do think there is issues with the fact we rarely have a team leader on the pitch, which we probably need to work on fixing. End of season team meeting. I think we've got to be looking at a mid-table finish next season. We've finished mid-table the last 2 years. We've qualified for Europe. Kano agrees we can do mid-table. We're no longer a team battling relegation, hopefully. We'll see how we get on with trying to compete on 2 different fronts. Does anyone remember Batalla breaking his leg? When did that happen? I missed that completely. Pre-season start date sorted there. Right, let's just check in with the Patreon players as well before we move into transfer time. In fact, a couple of players we always check in on. We've got to do the traditions. So Dean Morris, we already looked at him in the last episode, but a quick check-in with Dean Morris. He's got 2 years left on his Tottenham contract, back-to-back Premier League winner, still playing regularly for England. We're hoping to bring him in at the end of his 2 years with Tottenham. Even if he's not good enough to play for us at that point, Dean Morris is coming home. I'm going to make it happen. And of course, we also always check in on Nathan Curry, who he's just having the longest career in the history of the world as one of our Patreon youngsters. 29 years old now, still on a non-contract with Dorking Wanderers, still playing regularly in the Evo Stick Southern Premier South. And one day that man will retire and Nathan Curry will get a new player. But he's probably going to play on till he's 50. It's ridiculous. Right, let's have a look at the other Patreon youngsters that we've got knocking around then. So if we just sort this so we can see potential. I don't know why it never stays exactly where I want it to stay. There we go. Sort by potential. We want the under-18s. Oh, they're already included in that. So the highest potential player is actually one of the newest ones who's come through. Lad Baker, 16 years old, came through the youth team this summer. Box-to-box midfielder, 2-star current ability, so not far behind the ability of some of the players who are currently in the squad, just slightly behind Bogdan on current ability, but with 5-star potential. This guy could go on to become an absolute star for us. He could be the next top quality home midfielder to break it through to the first team. And then we've got a few others knocking about the place as well. Walter Ardim, we already know about, as a left back who's played for England under 20s. He's been out on loan. He's getting ever closer to being part of the first team squad, probably a little bit soon for next year, but maybe I don't know, we'll see. Morgan Fennon is another one at right back. And then we've got a few others who've got some high potential as well. Andrew Barter, one of them, Kyle Messerol, he's been out on loan all season at Fylde, had a couple of very good seasons down in the National League North. Needs to really make the step up if he's ever going to become a player for us. And then there's various other ones knocking around in there as well. If we sort by ability, the best one at the moment, most likely to make the breakthrough, is Lad Baker. So let's keep a close eye on him over the next few years. I'll just scroll down so anyone who has got a Patreon player can hopefully pause, see where their player is, get an idea of what they're doing, get an idea of if they're going to be leaving this summer. So I don't think I'm doing any more contract renewals at this point unless there's someone I've really not noticed and needs a new contract. So there might be a few people leaving. Poor old Anthony Harris, look at him, bless his cotton socks. Made available for home under 23s. How the mighty have fallen. He deserves a transfer this summer, but I kind of want him to have a testimonial, but I don't think he'll get one because he went away for so long. He needs to have been here for 10 years, and although 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, he has done 10 years in total with those 4 years away. I don't think the game's going to let him have a testimonial, even though he deserves one. So I think we probably need to let Anthony Harris leave, same way we're letting Lerick Melendez leave. But that's a job for once the transfers get up and running. We've got absolutely oodles of money to spend, a £78.5 million transfer budget. We'll probably not spend all of that and increase the wage budget with some of it, probably come down to about here maybe. £68 million to spend is still plenty and gives us a bunch of extra wage budget to play with, but we'll adjust that as we go. Actual positions we're looking to strengthen. There's a couple of positions I really need a player for, and then it's just going to be a case of looking for special players to upgrade the squad as needed. But we do need a goalkeeper for sure. Horvat just not up to it. It would be handy. We want to bring in Pagano permanently, I think, at left back. It would be handy to get a backup right back for Riviere and a better quality defensive midfielder than Harrison. That's a position I'd like to upgrade. We're looking for like 4-star players in each of these positions, so it would be nice to bring in a real top quality midfielder. Maybe another central midfielder if we move Bogdan on. I think we're probably okay attacking midfield. And then we talked about this in the last episode. If we're assuming Traore's leaving because he's on the transfer list at his own request, Harris is probably leaving, Steer's probably leaving, Matondo's probably leaving. We're likely to be going in with just Kano and Adrio, so we probably need another striker or two, depending on what's happening with Patella. Now he's broken his leg, that does change my plans slightly. So there's a few positions we want to strengthen, and then outside of that, it's just going to be finding players who just look awesome that we happen to be able to afford. For example, if we just, that could be the midfield. Sign whatever the price, a Brazilian defensive midfielder. This is kind of exactly what we're looking for. 14 million quid. I think we need to start making some moves. I shall be back once we've got some transfers in place. I think this day has finally come. I've appeased him for so long, but Semic Powell is ready for a new challenge, and he's had his testimonial. He's 31. He deserves it. He doesn't look like he's going to become a coach. He deserves to have the opportunity to go and play for somebody else. We'll try and persuade him, but I'm not going to force him to stay. It would be lovely to see him make an appearance in Europe. Anthony, can you convince him? Nope. Oh, his big buddy, his childhood friend can't convince him to stay. You've been a fantastic... that's the one that he deserves. You've been a fantastic servant. It'd be unfair of me to stand in your way. We've got to treat Mick Powell fairly. Thank you, Mick. That is a sad day. Let's see if there's any interest. I'm not going to offer him out, but if there's any interest for him, we're obviously going to let him go. The fact that it's taken until he was 31 for him to hand in a transfer request shows just what a hero that man has been for us. There will never be another one like him, and quite how he's not on the legends list with me, I don't understand. But we'll let him leave if he wants to go. It's happening again. Again, I've already said Sir Anthony Harris can leave this summer. But it's just sad for it to happen this way. Sir Anthony, you've been a fantastic servant to the club. It would be unfair of me to stand in your way. I'll try and find a new club for you as soon as possible. Thank you, Sir Anthony. It's a sad summer. It's a summer of change. And that is just double sad with bells on. They're both on the transfer list. In other news, this guy, who we identified before, I tried to sign him. He's got a £14 million release clause, but he wanted £200,000 a week. I could not agree terms with him. So I withdrew. I've now set my director of football the task of bringing him in. So he's now offered the 14 million quid. I don't know if he'll be able to convince him to take money we can afford to spend. We don't have 100. Well, we have 100,000. He wanted way over that. We offered him £100,000 a week and he just laughed at us and it went red immediately. So I think that will probably be a struggle, but we shall see. There are other couple of players who've handed in transfer requests as well. On the transfer list, all at their own request. Sir Anthony Harris, Jonathan Torres, it was Manny Traore and Sir Mick Powell. And it looks like they're all leaving. We've made the offer for Pagano. It would be nice to be able to bring Alves in as well, but I think that's a long shot. Grassi, we've already talked about in the last episode, he's already coming in as a right winger option. We're probably just going to loan him straight out. I don't see us changing the system, but he's there as an option. Torres wants to leave, and we've accepted an £11 million offer for Torres. He's been a very useful squad member for a couple of years, but we did only spend £5 million on him. He's not a first team regular, and he wants to leave. So I'm happy to move him on that basis. And Traore, I think it's safe to say, has been a bit of a flop. Brought in for £13 million on the promise of him being a wonder kid striker. He did score a lot of goals for Brest, played 21 times for us and didn't score once. So if we can recoup £10 million for him, I think that's a perfect example of cutting your losses. And so it looks like we've got more leaving than coming in at the moment. We need scout reports, but everything's going a little bit slowly on the scouting front. If we have a look at what's available, we did try and sign this guy as well. Really top quality right back. It's nice that we're able to make offers for Manchester City players now, but again, he wanted far too much money. We just couldn't offer him anywhere near what he wanted. If we have a look at those positions that we want to strengthen, start identifying some targets in these positions. There's a couple of decent goalkeeper options by the looks of it. Alexandru Nicolai needs another scout. We haven't got all the info on him yet, but considerably better than Horvat, so definitely worth an updated scout report, as are a couple of these, to be honest. We're probably going to re-scout quite a few of these, and we'll work through various positions, do that with all of them. We need to adjust budgets slightly so that we can offer Alves enough money. I don't want my silly director of football thinking we can't afford to offer him money, because I really want him. I think he'll be such a key player. He'll be our axe if you've watched the Sevilla series. But still no news yet. I promise I'll be back when there's some news. Transfer window is open on the 9th of June, and we've already done some business. Let's get through this and have a look at the business that we've done. So, Jonathan Torres has left the club. He's gone to Huddersfield for £11 million. He didn't want to be here, and we found a replacement who you're going to see in just a second. So I'm quite happy to let Torres leave. These are the ones that we've brought in. We've spent quite a lot of money on our new wonder kid goalkeeper. We'll look at him in a second. We have signed Pagano permanently, so he's in as our permanent left back. This is the replacement for Torres that I talked about. Reza Kurti, 26-year-old Albanian international, comes in from Chelsea, where he's been for the last however many years. That's this season. I was going to say, didn't play at all last year. That's a bit worrying. But he's been a fringe player at Chelsea for a few years. But he's similar type of player to Torres, natural as a mezzala and deep lying playmaker, which is exactly what Torres could do. But he's better than Torres was, and comes in from, I know Torres was formerly of Chelsea, but he came to us via, formerly of Barcelona, but he came to us via Newcastle. This lad, straight out of Chelsea, same age, just seems like a straight swap. And then the one that you're all going to tell me I'm stupid about, Riyad Saidi, is a 20-year-old wonder kid, French under-21 international goalkeeper. Yes, we've spent £53 million on him, which is the bulk of our transfer budget. He has made the breakthrough into the Marseille first team in the last season. He is not much better than Horvat at the moment, but he's going to get much, much better. This guy is going to be a very, very good goalkeeper, I hope, because I've just spent an awful lot of money on him. Used up pretty much all the money we've got. In fact, there's another player about to come in who will then use up my entire budget. We're then relying on players leaving. There are going to be a couple of players leaving. We still haven't sold any of the strikers that we talked about selling. I can't really justify bringing in anyone new in that position while we've still got 6 options there like we have. So bringing in new attackers is on hold for now. Even Traore's not left the club yet. But there is interest in 2 of our defenders, which is why we're signing a new one right now. Torres. It's fine that Torres has left. Lee Tai Hwan is a player we tried to bring in last summer for £1 million, but he went to Celtic instead. He chose to go there. He's had a year at Celtic and he's now joining us for £25 million. He's a centre-back who can play full-back on either side, so offers us a backup in those 2 positions, which is an area that I talked about wanting to strengthen, having backup players there. But he's going to be a very good partner to Sands or Van der Horst. Probably not Noble, because Noble has a £31 million Champions League release clause and Inter Milan want him. And I tried to offer him a new contract to talk him out of it, and he doesn't want to. He's not interested. So I think Tom Noble is going to be leaving for Inter Milan, which is why we're getting in first and bringing Lee Tai Hwan in now as a wonder kid centre-back, age 20. So we have our 4 good centre-backs again, and then we can happily let Noble leave, which is what I think I'm going to offer Noble out, but I'm only going to let him go for that 31 million. But he's probably, 4th choice centre-back now, I would say. So let's offer Noble for £31 million and hope Inter Milan bite and take him off us, because otherwise we are spent up and it's not even July yet. We've got to pour some more of this money. We have nothing. There is nothing left. Obviously, there are going to be players leaving, so that's going to reduce slightly, but we need to sell before we can buy. If we have a look at squad depth, there are areas where it's obvious where we can move players on. Up front, Kano, Adrio definitely keeping. Matondo probably keeping. Steer might be keeping. But have I sold Traore? I thought I hadn't sold Traore, but I don't see him on there. We must have sold Traore. How do I not remember? He's not. I think it's an arranged transfer, isn't it? Traore leaves on the 3rd of July. Okay, that makes sense. He's going to Spal. I do remember that deal now. It's because he wasn't on my outgoings. It confused me. So Traore's gone. But up front, we probably still need to move Sir Anthony Harris on. Maybe Steer, if anyone wants to take him. Steer's still only 23, young enough to turn himself around yet. Although he's not been spectacular just yet. I'm happy with Manu and Taylor in that position. Bishop and Curtie or Bogdan could all play there if need be. Bishop, Curtie, Samuel in midfield are fine. Bogdan there as a backup player. Harrison, I would like to upgrade, but we haven't got any money left to do it, which is a shame. Van der Horst can play there, as we saw towards the end of last season. And we have a very strong defence now. Saidi's only going to get better in goal. Pagano, very strong at left-back. 4 very good centre-backs, plus Turner. Riviere as a top-quality right-back. And then we've got centre-backs who can play wide on either side there as well. So our defence is finished. I'm happy with the goalkeepers. Midfield, I think I'm just about happy with. Attack, I could do with... I'd really like a Traore replacement. Someone who can play here and here. And then maybe someone who can slot in there. But I think we're going to be relying on loans. Costas needs to sort himself out. And this is, of course, assuming we don't sell Noble. If we're about to bring in £31 million for Noble, which I am kind of gambling on a little bit, then we'll be all good. Any mention of an offer for Noble? No. My forward planning might have backfired. Well, the idea of playing in the Europa League next year was fun while it lasted, but we've got Lazio in the Europa League, best place, second qualifying round, leg 1. I didn't know that draw was even happening. It's kind of just appeared on my fixture list. But we've got to find a way past Lazio. Lazio, who last season finished 5th in Serie A. Season before 4th in Serie A. I don't think we're making it past Lazio. And if we do, there's still 2 more out. We're not playing in the Europa League next year. We don't have to worry about big squads competing on all fronts. We've got to play that game in the middle of July when we're not even going to be fit. We've not even got pre-season sorted yet. It was a fun dream for a very brief period. We've got a couple of other potential players who are going to be leaving because of these pesky release clauses. Riviere, who's got a release clause of £19.5 million for clubs in the Champions League, is now wanted by multiple clubs who are in the Champions League. So I think he's probably going to be moving on. I didn't realise Riviere was 26. But either way, it's good business moving him on for nearly 20 million after we signed him for 2 million. The only problem is we don't have anyone behind him. I don't want to have to bring in Wells Askew permanently. Gregson is certainly not going to be the answer there. So my director of football already seems on top of it. He is trying to bring in an 18-year-old right back on loan from Roma. The only problem is he's not anything special yet. He will be good, but it will be a downgrade initially. So that's a potential issue. Carl Bishop is wanted by Monaco. Has he got a release clause? £33 million release clause for clubs in the Champions League. Tom Noble, still wanted by Inter Milan. Matondo. Stoke want Matondo on loan. The irony of it. What league are Stoke in now? Stoke are in the Championship. They never played him when he was their player, but now they want him on loan. How times have changed. They can have him for £5.5 million if they want him. Francesco Grassi has arrived. We have a winger. I don't know what I'm going to do with him. Loan him out or teach him to play right back are my only 2 options, really. He's a good one as well. We've got a good winger. Look how fast he is. 5-star potential as well. Valued at 17 million. I'm tempted just to flip him. Does anyone want Francesco? You can have him for 15 million. Anyone? Well, if we want a left winger as well. Well, it's not so long ago that this would have been a disaster. In fact, it's not so long ago that this was a disaster when we lost Chadney Matondo and it all almost fell apart. But he's been on the fringe. We were offered over £9 million for him. He's gone to play in Italy. 25 years old now, not quite become a Premier League player, but we've almost doubled our money on him. Plus got over like 120 goals out of him over 5 or 6 years. Thank you, Chadney Matondo. But we kind of moved on from you. Marvin Samuel's not happy that he's gone. I assure you I have a plan, Marvin. Don't worry. Discuss issue. Didn't I just discuss it with him? Excellent. Holden's gone as well. We've sold Grant Brown to Cardiff for nearly £6 million. Oliver Gregson has gone to QPR. Lots of players on their way. Riviere really wants to leave. But what all this means is, all of a sudden, we've got some money again. We're trying to make some moves. There's a couple of old men we're trying to bring in to strengthen in key positions. If I get them, I'll show them to you. If I don't, I won't, obviously. Old man number 1 is in, still working on 2 more. I know this is a bit of a departure from what's been our Premier League transfer policy previously, but I think we're a mid-table Premier League side now. We no longer need to be afraid of these experienced players because there'll be a drain on our finances when we get relegated. We need to pick the right ones to try and push us on to the next level. We did similar things with Sevilla and not Tottenham, that was years ago, and Fulham and Hamburg, bringing in the right older players. But I think Mauro Preseason fits the bill there. Argentinian international. I know he's 34, but he's as good as Kano, better than any other striker we've got at the club. He's been playing for Manchester United for goodness knows how long and still scoring goals, despite not really getting much game time. Also previously of Real Madrid. He's had some big transfers in his life. We've got a lot of young players at the club who he can go into a mentoring group with, so we're going to have the benefit of all of his experience. Plus, he's still going to be able to play, which is all. I mean, Ballon d'Or winner. Okay, Ballon d'Or 3rd place twice. But this is someone who was formerly considered one of the best players in the world. And he's only on 34 grand a week. Yes, we've got him on a 3-year contract, but we're not going to worry about that. We'll make him a coach or something. Let's give him a squad number. Lucky number 13. Get him registered into the squad as well. And, I mean, Kieran King's still here, for goodness sake. We've got a nice experienced player come in, which is very handy. What does that do to our squad dynamics? There you go. He comes straight in as a team leader, which was the plan. Excellent stuff. With these two probably leaving, we've got a much more experienced team leader. This is good stuff. More of that, please. Well, it's a sad day, but it's nice to see that he gets to go and fulfil his retirement with the turd at Orlando City. Sir Anthony Harris is going to the MLS. He did have the option to also go to Empoli, I think was the other team, but he's chosen to go to the MLS. This, I find disgusting, by the way, that we have to pay Norwich a solidarity payment, bearing in mind we never got a penny of solidarity payment for Dean Morris, and Anthony Harris came through our youth team. But just thank you, Sir Anthony. You've been a fantastic servant. Thank you, Sir Anthony Harris. We're trying to sign this guy as a replacement. He looks pretty decent. I like Brazilian strikers. Bah, we didn't get the striker I wanted. The search for a striker continues. It does mean I probably shouldn't sell Ollie Steer now. And we've got a few offers in for Ollie Steer. How are we doing for strikers? Squad depth. Let's have a little look. Kano, Preseason, Adrio. Yeah, we probably need to keep Steer for now. But I'm hoping I'm now in a position to make an offer for another one of the old men. Florentino Luis, who is an elite defensive midfielder, has been at Manchester United for years. I just don't think we can afford him. No, he won't even discuss with us anymore. He wants £200,000 a week. We're trying to push him down. He ain't having any of it. I don't think we're going to get him in either. We're missing out on a few players. Oh, we've got a player going to a Manchester United testimonial. Someone going to a Chelsea testimonial. We haven't got any testimonials this summer. I'm distraught. Right. Back to the drawing board. Because I think we've sold too many strikers. We need to bring in another one now. Wow. Looks like Ollie Steer has made my mind up for me. He's decided he wants to stay and fight for his place. Seems like a poor decision. I forgot Botello was behind him, so he probably is my fifth choice still. If anyone wants Ollie Steer, you can still have him. That's not the case for Riviere. Please stop offering money for him. Liverpool, you're not a Champions League club, you're not having him. Has anyone signed Louis yet? What was his name? I forget his first name. Florentino, that's him, isn't it? We'll just keep trying. If no one signs... No. If no one signs him, we might be able to get him a little bit cheaper, and he is the missing piece of the puzzle, I think. Well, I'm stopping the transfer special much earlier than I've ever stopped one before. It's only the 21st of July. I think there's still plenty of business in us. The transfer window doesn't close for like another 3 weeks, but we've got the Lazio game. We can't play our first game in Europe as a club ever hidden away in a transfer special. So we'll have both legs of Lazio as tomorrow's video, plus we'll continue the transfer special as we go, and that will then continue over into the next one. So it's going to be like a weird start to the season, as we've got to show you the European games, but it could potentially be like 2 or 3 episodes before we actually get the Premier League season started, depending on how we do in Europe and how this European qualification thing works, because we could be going at this for a little while before the season even begins. So expect a few weird episodes, but we play in Europe tomorrow. We are playing away against Lazio in a competitive match in tomorrow's video. This is Holme Football Club. That's mad. If you've enjoyed that, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for daily Football Manager videos, and thank you very much for watching.